All right. Chapter 4. No longer home. For every good moment, there was a bad moment. For every bad moment, there was a memory made. A parent cannot control what their child will remember. Parents hope their mistakes will be forgotten with age. Some mistakes are larger than others, but they're mostly made without malicious intent. As a child, I did not understand more than I could see. What I could see was that my mom was unhappy. What I could feel from my father was anger. When he was in a good mood, we walked on eggshells because we didn't want anything to shift. I heard the words, I love you, but I didn't feel love. Our parents' fighting was normal. Each sister had their own coping mechanism. More than once, my sisters would come to get me out of the hiding place I had chosen for that fight. Before the sisters decided we would be better without him, the sisters would bring items out of the basement wedding cabinet to remind our parents of their love and marriage. We thought it would help bring the tension and down and end the fight. We wanted to create a movie moment where the fight goes away because of love. A timer would be put on the stove for how long our parents were going to talk. Many times those talks ended with a wedding ring being taken off and thrown as a symbolic message. When I would ask my dad about why the rings mattered, he explained to me that the rings never stop, never end, just like love. His love for my mom and their marriage was like a ring, never ending. He was not going to let us go without a fight. For years, we lived like my father was another roommate. Mom would clean and cook for the house. It was difficult to take the sisters grocery store because we wanted everything and would not take no for an answer. Many times we were left at home. It always felt like she was gone forever. I feared she was hurt and never coming back. We had no cell phones to contact her if we were upset or wanted to know when she would be home. She could be gone for 2 hours or 6 hours. We didn't know. My mom looked for sales and coupons before she went to get groceries. We did not have a lot of money, but we had what we needed, usually. When my mom called home while at a grocery store, that was not a good sign. As the marriage deteriorated, my father extended his control over money. He had lowered the credit card amount without telling his wife. He was making it difficult for her to provide for his daughters. His daughters noticed. My aunt allowed my dad to set up her pop up trailer in the space behind our house and before the garage. As kids, we loved pretending to camp, but not actually camping. Mom was cooking lemon fish inside. We were almost ready to eat when Midnight ran onto the table, clawed a fish, and ran away with it. The kids were laughing, but not their father. He was angry. The fight was so bad that the mom and daughters ate dinner alone in the trailer. Business trips were our favorite treat our dad could give us. He would be gone for days at a time. Many times, I wished the plane would crash so he couldn't come home. To alert us of his homecoming, the sisters would pile pots and pans behind the door we expected he would enter. My parents had a waterbed, and it was difficult to join my parents in bed if I had a nightmare. My father's heavy weight would push my mom's side up. Not wanting to lay next to our father, the only option was to balance on the little bit of waterbed and mostly bed frame. Instead of joining mom in bed, I would stay in my bed and scream her name randomly until she came to me. Eventually, my mother no longer felt safe sleeping next to him. She didn't want to share his bed or his space. Instead, mom slept in the music room or in the basement on the pull-out couch. The last time she slept in the basement was also the last time she had her engagement ring. Hiding in the shadows in the night, my father stole the ring out of my mother's purse. She remembers seeing his shape through sleep-hazed eyes. At first she thought it was a dream, but the ring was gone in the morning. I knew things as a child I shouldn't have known in a normal situation. My sisters and I were not living in a normal situation. One day, our grandfather picked up the sisters from school. We knew something bad had happened. Mom didn't depend on her parents unless she had to. We were taken to a house that felt far away. My mom had a friend through therapy that was letting us stay for a few nights. Without being graphic, Mom explained that our father had done something physical to her while she was under him on the bed. He crossed boundaries and didn't listen to her rebukes and told him to stop. His toxic behavior was escalating. She didn't feel safe being at home, and she didn't trust him alone with us. She went to the police. In the following months, Mom put chain locks on the inside of our rooms. At night, we locked the doors to make sure he could not reach us. His firstborn daughter was taking a nap on the couch. Her OCD required that wherever she slept, she was in her sleeping bag with the appropriate pillow and stuffed animals. After this event, she began sleeping with the baseball bats hidden in her required sleeping bag. I was playing with the second sister when I hear Mom yelling. Both sisters go to see what the commotion is as we hear the door slam. My mom's hands are shaking as she holds the phone ready to call the police. The explanation I remember knowing as a child was that while saying goodbye before work, Dad kissed his firstborn. He kissed her ear or cheek, but did not stop. The little girl saying stop was ignored, and it took Mom calling attention to his behavior before he stopped. His wife tried to save the marriage. Therapy was attempted multiple times. If my mom was leaving in the same car as my father, I had panic attacks and severe emotional swings. As a child, I didn't have the words to tell the adults why I was being difficult. I didn't understand myself why I reacted this way until many years later. After therapy and in understanding the situation with maturity, I understand why I was terrified of them leaving together. I was afraid he would hurt my mom so badly she wouldn't come back. If my mom died, we would have nothing. We would be left with him alone, and we would be forced to depend on him. As much as we feared and hated our father, we still yearned for his love. Part of us still loved him and wanted to be around him. A few times, the sisters were allowed to join Dad and his friends at the tennis courts. While the adult friends played tennis, the three sisters would rollerblade around and pick up balls. On one tennis visit, a ball escaped the fenced enclosure. I volunteered to go get the ball to my own hazard. By the time we drove home, I was feeling sick. I did my best not to throw up in my dad friend's car. I ran to the bathroom and immediately Mom knew something was seriously wrong. I started to vomit and my skin changed colors, so I was taken to the hospital. I was poisoned by the pesticides on the grass. One summer night, the neighborhood stood outside watching flames consume the jewel warehouse behind the metal fence. The flames were so large, some houses evacuated. The fire was extinguished, but the neighborhood smelled like rotten eggs for months. The smell was not uncommon because we also lived near landfill. There was a running joke that the smell had come from my father's farts. Once school was done for the year, I was a happier child. My birthday is early summer. Decorating for my birthday, I stood on a wooden stool created by my grandfather. I taped streamers to the fan so when it turned on, the colors would spin. I slipped and the stool tipped. My mother heard the wrist bone crack as I hit the ground. It was 3 days until my pool party. There is nothing more crushing for a child than no one showing up to their birthday party. Once I didn't have pools for parties, friends stopped coming. I would call friends to come over and they would say no. I stopped trying to celebrate my birthday with friends because of the disappointment. I didn't want to celebrate life, even as a child. Our driveway was long and narrow. While riding my bike, I would end up in the grass a lot. In an attempt to go from grass to driveway, the tire disagreed. The bike threw me down as I landed on my other wrist. We had been through this before, so to the doctor we went. A cast was put on my wrist and we were sent home. After a few hours, I noticed my hand was uncomfortable. My fingernails were not the correct color either. Back to the doctor we went. The solution the doctor came up with was to cut the slice down the hardened cast to allow the swelling hand to feel relief. Once the swelling was down, another hard cast was applied directly on top of the first cast. This allowed my little hand to slip out of the cast if I tried hard enough. I hated having the cast on my arm. It was summertime and the cast meant I couldn't get in the pool. Showering and taking baths was a nightmare. The cast smelled funny and my skin was raw. I would slip the cast off without my parents knowing. Fortunately for me, my wrist healed without immediate permanent damage. The doctor was not happy with me when I revealed my sneaky trick. We did not do family game nights often. I have memories of attempting Monopoly on the kitchen table. Usually our family games ended in tears and with yelling. It was difficult to find things we all wanted to do together. Road trips were difficult because the sisters would fight when confined together. Balancing coins on our noses and looking for state license plates entertained us until there was a disagreement. There was so much anger within the family, it was easy for a simple argument to get blown out of control when none of us felt in control. Vacations happened, but because I was so young, they feel like a dream. I know we went on a plane because I remember banging my head on a railing at a restaurant in the airport. I was swinging around like a monkey and smashed my forehead. Most of my memories are because I have pictures. Other than pictures, I have no memories of our trip to Disney. I am told Goofy stepped on my foot and caused me to cry. I brought home a Minnie Mouse headband I'm wearing in a picture. Waiting for Space Mountain was the environment. My mother realized hunger is real. Standing in line for Space Mountain, I was not happy. My sisters wanted to go on a dark ride and the wait was long. In order to get me to shut up, my mother gave me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. When the sandwich was in my little tummy, my attitude changed greatly. From that moment on, she knew that as long as I had food, my attitude would be much better. It turned out the ride was too scary, and my sisters and I were too afraid to go on the ride after waiting so long. I vividly remember a bathing suit my mom bought me for our summer. Every year we got new bathing suits because we would grow so much. My favorite was bright orange and yellow, ink swirling patterns. Spaghetti straps and fun ruffles in the front made it my favorite bathing suit. I wore it to the water park that had a wave pool. I was excited for a new pool. My mom called me her little fishy because I loved water so much. I was skilled and strong at swimming, so a wave pool didn't scare me. It should have. My little body was picked up as easily as a rag doll. When the wave put me down, I was sliding backwards against a textured floor. The next thing I know, I'm in the first aid with many adults looking at my back bleeding as my dad holds me up. My back hurt for so long. I had to regrow skin on the entire top half of my back. Many times on vacation, the sisters were left at the timeshare house with our mom. As kids, we didn't care he was gone. Years later, we found out that when my mother refused to wake up 3 sleeping children too early, he took all the Disney tickets and left. It was a relief to find out he wasn't there and he wasn't going to be home for hours. To fill those hours, the sisters chased lizards and enjoyed the sun. California or Florida, it wasn't where we were from. There are creatures outside we had never seen. There were plants that looked alien. The heat was so strange to us because we entertained ourselves with melting ice cubes. The sisters would each pick an ice cube. On the count of 3, each sister would put theirs face down. The ice piece that melted first won. We created our own fun. There was a regular visit to a farmland in Wisconsin that we would make for his extended family. It was a long drive, but I do remember a neighborhood with spread out houses that looked huge. The hills were unbelievable and like roller coasters. At the house, there were cousins of cousins and aunts and uncles. The Wisconsin house was filled with adults I didn't know and I didn't want to approach. The kids that were there left me out because I was too young to keep up. There was a beautiful, huge weeping willow tree house that I dreamed of going in. It was built into the weeping willow and it was taller than the house. I never looked forward to the Wisconsin trips. The house was too crowded with strangers and we were always there too long. The last year we went as a family, we did not leave as a family. 2 adults and 3 children arrived in the car to the family reunion. After hours of begging, Mom tried to convince Dad to leave. He would not hear it. His plan was to stay for many more hours. With her children in mind, Mom took the keys and got the kids in the car. She was ready to leave and she didn't care if he came with. He could get a ride home with his parents or his sister. He was not going to let us go easily. Without warning, he reached into the car and popped the hood. Together as one voice, all 3 sisters screamed, "Start the car!" as our father tried to unscrew something from the engine. A shocked Mom listened quick enough to pull the car away. Within a few miles, the car was parked and she tightened any knobs she could see. We made it home safely without him. The truth was that we were better off without a father. There was a night that I remember feeling the ultimate feeling of dread. Now I know it was a panic attack. I felt as if something horrible was going to happen when he was around. It was as if I was waiting for a bomb to go off and I didn't know what damage to expect from him. An angry outburst? Something thrown at me? Will he physically hurt me? I pleaded with my mother to take my sisters and me to a hotel for the night. My sisters and I wanted to take our things and sleep somewhere he couldn't reach us. Fear had driven us to want to leave our home. And before we could convince my mother, he came home. I remember trying to stay as far away from him as possible as I passed him on the stairs to get to my mom. Fear consumed that night and many others in our childhood. Bad things don't only happen at night. Star Trek was a show that we always watched. Our TV did not have a remote, or we could not find the remote. Dad and I were on the floor watching together. What I remember is that the volume was low and he wanted me to make it louder. I didn't want to move, so in order to convince me, I remember a change or a shift in his mannerisms. Dad used his fingers on my elbow in a strange way that made me uncomfortable. I gave him what he wanted. I got up, I turned the volume up, and I never wanted to watch Star Trek again. I would wait until Chris Pine is captain to watch any Star Trek again. What could be fun memories of playful wrestling for the couch turned into a tragic moment. Young minds are impressionable, and I had just seen Mrs. Doubtfire. All 3 sisters were wrestling with their dad for control of the couch. The innocent laughing child, trying to make her father move, made a mistake. Without knowing what the word meant, I called my dad a bastard. I specifically remember thinking I wanted to say beast, but bastard coming out of my mouth. The moment the word was out of my mouth, I knew I was doomed. Dad was now furious at the word that had come out of my mouth. His reaction was to pick me up by my shoulders and slam my head against the floor. My mother, who was in the basement, heard the thump and came running. My words were an accident, but he didn't take the time to talk to me and find out. He reacted too quickly with anger and violence. Mom tried to get an order of protection against our father. The court would not grant my mother any protection. The order of protection was nothing but a piece of paper anyway. A piece of paper would do nothing to protect us. The piece of paper would not stop him from pushing my sister down the stairs while she was on crutches for going slowly. The police had been brought to our home many times because of my father's actions. The amount of times we called the police because we felt like we were in danger did nothing to help us. The oldest sister was taught not to let anyone in the house we didn't know, not even the police. The police chose to protect my father's rights. I was spared most physical abuse. The middle daughter received the most shocking physical attack by our father. It's understandable that his daughter was angry with him. It is not surprising that once we learned how to write down what we felt, we did. All over her walls, she wrote down reasons why she hated him. The walls were covered with her trying to communicate with a father that refused to hear her words. It took a lot for the middle daughter to reach the point of explosion. She was angry, and it was harder to keep inside. On a particular morning, before our father shut the back door, she purposely called him a bastard. She was sitting at the head of the table opposite to the door where he was standing. It took him 2 steps to reach her. His hand closed around her throat and squeezed. It happened so quickly, my mom barely had time to get behind them and reach the phone for police. When he let go, his hands left a mark on his daughter's neck. I heard the door slam as I ran into the kitchen. I heard my mom scream as she reached for the phone. I saw the red marks on my sister's throat and saw how badly my mother's hands shook as she dialed 911. When my father returned days later, he didn't speak to us. Our father was accompanied by his church best friend to help him collect his things and move out. I do not remember an interaction between my mother and my father. I remember begging my father to explain what was happening as he walked around like a ghost. We feared our father, but we desperately wanted him to love us. We wanted to understand what he was going through and thinking that he refused to acknowledge his children and our questions. Later, we were informed he was instructed by the police not to talk to us. Communication is what we needed most. As children, we saw our father was leaving. We were happy but confused. Our whole world was shifting, so it was scary. It was our mom that we depended on. Mom told us what she could, but she didn't know all the answers herself. This was a new territory for everyone involved. He was out of the house, so that was a great first step. The house we had grown up now was more like a cage because we were stuck living there. It wasn't a place we felt safe or wanted to be, but it was the only option. We were surviving, not living. The neighborhood that was filled with playing children jumping from house to house was gone. Many friends had moved away from the neighborhood. Crime was increasing in the area and striking too close for comfort. The high school in the area was plagued with gunshots and drugs. With the future in mind, Mom decided that this was not where her children were going to thrive. We needed to leave the only house we'd ever known. If we were going to grow into capable, happy adults, we needed to leave. Life was out there waiting for us. Well, all right, well, there's chapter 4. Thanks. Oh, yeah, this way.